Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to share a truly heartbreaking story with you about a bright young woman whose dreams were tragically cut short. Chinese student Yingying Zhang arrived in the United States, invited by the prestigious University of Illinois. She was eagerly anticipating her wedding to her Chinese fiancé, a future filled with promise. Yet, in a cruel twist of fate, she would never have the opportunity to wear her wedding dress. Yingying's life was brutally cut short, just 6 short weeks after she set foot on American soil. She was born on December 21st, 1990. Yingying was an exceptionally bright young woman, a Chinese environmental student who had earned her master's degree in environmental engineering from Beijing University. His ambition was to become a scientist. By all accounts, she was an open-hearted, vibrant, and joyful person, known for her beautiful singing voice and her talent playing guitar in a band called Cute Horseback in Ningping, her hometown. He understood that Yingying was a truly multifaceted individual. In April 2017, at the age of 26, she journeyed to Champaign, Illinois, following an invitation from the University of Illinois. She planned to spend a year studying plant and water sciences in the Department of Natural Resources, with aspirations of attending graduate school back in China afterwards. It was in China that Yingying had crossed paths with Xiaolin Ho, a relationship that began in high school. They were both top students, and their romance had blossomed over several years. The couple envisioned a future together, planning to marry once she returned home. She had already meticulously planned the wedding, chosen her dress, and even contemplated starting a family. But heartbreakingly, her dreams were not destined to come true. On June 9th, 2017, Yingying informed her friends that she was en route to meet a real estate agent off campus to sign a lease agreement. At 1:39 p.m., she texted the real estate agent, letting him know she would be running about half an hour late and expected to arrive by 2:10 p.m. That message proved to be the final text Yingying ever sent. She never showed up for the meeting. The real estate agent texted her at 2:40 p.m., inquiring about her whereabouts, but received no response. He eventually left for another client meeting. Several hours passed, and still, Yingying hadn't returned. Her friends grew increasingly worried. They knew Yingying was only supposed to sign the contract and head straight back to campus. She had no other plans. They called and texted her repeatedly, but their calls went unanswered, and their messages received no reply. Her fiancé in China also found himself unable to reach her, despite their routine of speaking several times a day. The situation quickly became highly alarming. By evening, her campus friends, having waited in vain for her return, contacted the police and filed a missing persons report. Initially, the police seemed to dismiss their concerns, presuming Yingying was simply spending time with a friend, as often happens with young adults. They hesitantly initiated search. However, when they questioned all her friends and found no new information, and furthermore discovered no activity on her bank cards or phone, and that her device could not be tracked, the police escalated their efforts significantly. Yingying's phone had powered off at 2:28 p.m. on the day she vanished and never turned on again. Campus police conducted a thorough search for her on university grounds, but no one had seen her there either. The news of Yingying's disappearance immediately dominated headlines in both China and the United States. Initially, a $10,000 reward was offered for any information leading to her whereabouts. Upon learning of her disappearance, her parents and fiancé promptly flew to Illinois and subsequently increased the reward to $50,000 for information that could lead to her return. Her grieving parents and fiancé actively participated in the search efforts, vowing not to leave until Yingying was found. Due to the international scope of the case, FBI agents joined the investigation. They managed to pinpoint Yingying's phone to a bus stop near the campus. He learned that Yingying didn't own a car and relied on public transportation, specifically buses. CCTV footage captured her boarding a bus at 1:35 p.m. Yingying disembarked at 1:52 p.m. to catch a second bus, but she was standing on the opposite side of the road and missed it. The bus pulled away without her, and Yingying attempted to run after it, but it didn't stop. Subsequent CCTV footage then showed her walking towards the next bus stop. As she walked, a black four-door Saturn Astra drove past her. It then circled around and pulled up beside her at approximately 2:03 p.m. After a brief conversation with the driver, Yingying entered the car and they drove away. She was never seen again on any subsequent CCTV footage. The driver was the last person to see the missing young woman, but unfortunately, the car's license plate was unreadable from the footage. Now, the FBI faced the critical task of identifying the driver. Their investigation revealed that there were 18 black four-door Saturn Astras registered in the immediate area. Surveillance footage also showed that the car in question had a very specific identifying characteristic: cracked hubcaps. During the extensive investigation, all 18 vehicles were thoroughly analyzed. Only one car matched the camera footage, possessing both the cracked hubcaps and the same sunroof. The owner of this car was 28-year-old Brent Christensen. Brent had grown up in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, and had married his high school sweetheart, Michelle Zortman, in 2011. 2 years later, the couple relocated to Champaign, Illinois, where he enrolled in graduate school at the University of Illinois and worked as a teaching assistant. However, Brent dropped out of graduate school in 2016. He presented himself as a seemingly upright family man and appeared trustworthy, with no prior criminal record. When FBI agents approached him and inquired about his whereabouts on June 9th, he claimed to have no recollection. He speculated that he might have been sleeping at home or playing video games. He also mentioned that his wife, Michelle, with whom he claimed to have an open relationship, was out of town with another man. He granted the FBI permission to search his apartment and car. The FBI agents immediately noticed something peculiar. Part of his car's interior, specifically the front passenger door area, had been meticulously cleaned recently, while the rest of the car remained dirty. It seemed unusual. Typically, a car is cleaned entirely, but this one looked as if specific stains had been removed. A swift search of his apartment initially yielded no immediate clues. FBI agents then escorted Brent to the police station for further questioning. There, he vehemently denied ever seeing Yingying, much less giving her a ride. But when confronted with the irrefutable CCTV footage, Brent admitted that he had been driving past when he noticed the young woman looking distressed and desperate. He stopped and inquired if she needed help. Yingying reportedly told him she was late for a meeting, so he offered her a ride, which she accepted. Brent then claimed that Yingying became frightened after he made a sharp, incorrect turn just a couple of blocks away. According to his story, she panicked and attempted to open the front passenger door, but it was locked. Brent then pulled over. Yingying exited the vehicle and walked away. He maintained he never saw her again. When an FBI agent pressed him for a more detailed description of Yingying, he claimed he had trouble identifying Asians and that picking her up from the stop had been a mistake because it made him a suspect. At this point, there was only circumstantial evidence against him, which wasn't sufficient for an arrest. So, the FBI had to let Brent go. However, they immediately began intense surveillance of him, meticulously gathering evidence of his potential involvement in Yingying's disappearance. They realized Brent was the individual they needed to focus on. The FBI confiscated his phone, computer, camera, and other digital devices for thorough examination. They soon discovered that Brent had been harboring disturbing secrets. In March 2017, he had visited a therapist, revealing during sessions that he harbored thoughts of murder and possessed a chilling fascination with serial killers. He had a particular admiration for Ted Bundy. He also chillingly claimed to know how to commit a murder without leaving evidence, thus ensuring he could evade justice. Brent also confided in his therapist that his life was spiraling out of control. He had begun to drink alcohol frequently, and his wife, Michelle, who had taken a lover, had asked him for a divorce. However, he strongly disliked the concept of an open relationship and did not want a divorce. It also emerged that shortly before Yingying's disappearance, Brent had met a young woman named Tara Bullis on a dating site. They connected through their shared interest in BDSM and began meeting at his house. They agreed that Brent would assume the dominant role in their relationship, with Tara as the submissive. Brent even introduced Tara to his wife, given their open relationship, and his wife was aware of their affair. Tara also engaged in intimate encounters with other men. She informed Brent about a BDSM forum where he reportedly explored strange topics, including kidnapping. His computer search queries were filled with chilling terms like kidnapping, cleaning products, how iPhone tracking works, and even searches for Agent, Yingying's nickname. He was apparently seeking information on how to abduct someone, disable phone tracking, clean up blood, and was following the search efforts for the missing girl. But all this information was still not enough for an arrest. More concrete evidence was needed, and ideally, his confession. FBI agents approached his new girlfriend, Tara, and asked for her assistance in the investigation. She courageously agreed, and she was equipped with a recording device. On June 29th, Brand and Tara attended a memorial event for Yingying, where the missing girl's loved ones tearfully implored for her safe return home. Brand, who had been drinking throughout the event, was seen smiling. He then chillingly whispered into Tara's ear, "They'll go home empty-handed, cause no one will ever know where Yingying is." He then opened the Notes app on Tara's phone and chillingly wrote, "That was me. She's number 13. She's gone forever." He then drew the number 13 on Tara's hand. On the recording, a loud thump was audible, a terrifying manifestation of her own racing heartbeat, a testament to her profound fear. Tara felt profoundly uneasy about his increasingly disturbing stories, but he continued, almost as if he wanted to impress her. Unaware that Tara was actively assisting the FBI and recording his every word, the tipsy Brand began to recount the grisly specifics of Yingying's final moments, all while smiling. "I took her clothes off and just started doing things to her. She tolerated everything. I tried to strangle her, but it didn't work. I strangled her for 10 minutes, then I let her go. She was breathing. I couldn't believe she was still alive. She fought harder than anyone I've ever met. Yingying is the only person I got wrong, and the trail is now coming back to me. She was the 13th. I've been doing this since I was 19. Brand then told Tara how he dragged Yingying's body into the bathroom of his apartment and struck her over the head with a baseball bat as hard as he could. He then recounted how he had inflicted further horrors, including decapitation. Brand callously stated, "I chopped her head off, and that was it." On the tape, he brazenly compared himself to his idol, Ted Bundy, boasted that 13 victims were more than Jeffrey Dahmer and John Gacy had, and smugly declared that he had the nation's attention. These chilling audio recordings became irrefutable hard evidence, undeniably proving his guilt. Brand was arrested the following day. He initially feigned ignorance, acting as if he were an undercover police officer, and did not confess. His apartment was meticulously scoured. Using luminol, FBI agents discovered a bloody handprint on the wall next to Brand's bed and in the bathroom, as well as blood on the passenger door of his car. A large blood stain was found on his mattress, and a specialized cadaver dog indicated the scent of human remains in the bathroom. Yingying's DNA, collected from her toothbrush, was found on a baseball bat, on Brand's mattress, on his carpet, and in his bathroom. GPS data from his car proved that he was in the area at the time of her disappearance, and that Yingying was indeed in his vehicle. Receipts for trash bags and cleaning supplies were found in his apartment. And on Amazon, he had purchased a huge sports bag in which he could presumably have covertly carried any remaining evidence in garbage bags out of the house. On the day Yingying disappeared, at 4:53 p.m., he messaged Tara, "How was your day? I'm exhausted." Confronted with the overwhelming evidence, Brand eventually confessed to everything and recounted his horrific story. Brand was deeply unhappy with his wife's open relationship. He was particularly incensed when she went to a resort in Wisconsin Dell with her new boyfriend for a romantic weekend on June 9th, the same resort where Brent and Michelle had spent their honeymoon. On June 9th, at 7:45 a.m., he drove to a liquor store and purchased a large bottle of cheap rum. At home, he drank the rum to numb himself and shaved, then ventured out to look for a victim. Brent spent several hours driving around, intoxicated and searching. He first encountered a fellow graduate student from the university, Emily Hogan, walking to a bus stop near campus. She didn't know him. He drove up to her, claiming to be an undercover police officer, and asked her to get in his car to answer some questions. She bravely refused and ran away. He then drove off. Emily later identified him and posted warning messages on her Facebook page to alert others about the fake cop driving around town. Tragically, this warning came only after Yingying had disappeared. After Emily refused, Brent continued his search for a victim and then saw Yingying. He similarly told her he was a police officer and offered her a ride. She believed him, as he reportedly had a police badge and a police radio, and got into his car. Once Yingying was in his vehicle, he drove towards his house, took the girl's phone, and switched it off. Brand tied her hands, drove her to his apartment, raped her, killed her, and dismembered her body. Brent then purchased cleaning supplies and began cleaning his house and car, but he failed to clean under the carpet or behind the baseboards, where blood was later discovered. He claimed that he hadn't planned it, that it was a spontaneous decision, an impulse. However, searches on his computer strongly suggested a sinister premeditation. Brent was charged with kidnapping resulting in death and 2 counts of making false statements to federal agents. He was facing the ultimate penalty, the death penalty. The trial began in June 2019. His lawyer argued that Brand, despite his graduate school education, was a troubled individual. He had struggled with depression as a teenager and suffered from a pervasive sense of inadequacy. Because of it, Brand had admitted to a psychoanalyst that his mother battled alcoholism. He had no communication with his siblings and claimed to have no friends. Brand often contemplated suicide. At the time of the crime, he was struggling with mental health issues, sleep problems, and substance abuse, which was why he had been seeing a psychoanalyst and battling his destructive habits. According to the lawyer, Brand was not in the best of health and was experiencing dark thoughts, which were exacerbated by his wife's divorce petition. This, the defense argued, was when his life truly spiraled downhill. At that moment, Brent was sitting in the courtroom, visibly emotional, wiping away tears. The lawyer confirmed that Brent had committed the horrific crime, but implored the jury to spare his life, despite the fact that he had shown no such mercy to his victim. His wife, Michelle, supported her husband throughout the trial. She claimed to have seen the huge duffel bag and witnessed Brent leaving with it on June 12th. She stated the bag had no discernible smell, and he slung it over his shoulder with ease. Therefore, she believed there couldn't have been a body inside, suggesting it must have contained something light. However, she conceded that the bag was indeed very large, capable of fitting a person, and her husband was strong enough to lift the girl's weight. Michelle also admitted that she noticed new cleaning products in the house, as well as stains on the carpet. Brent had told her he had a nosebleed and stained the carpet, which prompted him to buy cleaning products and attempt to clean it. None of this had aroused any suspicion in her, even though the stain was quite large. In a recorded call from jail, she told Brent that Tara had conspired against him and should be carried out of the courtroom on a stretcher, unconscious. Brent eventually admitted his culpability for all charges at the trial, but he never disclosed the location of Yingying's body. On July 18, 2019, after 2 hours of deliberation, the jury found Brent guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. His wife later moved to another state and changed her last name, seeking to start a new life. Tara sought professional psychological support after the trial due to the horrors she had to hear from Brent. She suffered from severe panic attacks because of her close contact with the killer. A suicide note was later found in Brent's prison cell. Apparently, he was planning to take his own life or perhaps just seeking attention. He was placed in solitary confinement and put under strict monitoring. Although Brand told Tara that Yingying was his 13th victim, no evidence was found to corroborate the existence of more victims. He denied it at his trial. FBI analysts reviewed 19 unresolved missing persons investigations in Lenox and Wisconsin. They sent Brand's DNA to the police departments investigating those cases, and no corroborating DNA evidence was found. He probably just fabricated these claims purely to impress Tara. Brent likely thought his new BDSM-loving girlfriend would appreciate his horrific boasts, but he was gravely mistaken. Yingying's family was profoundly disappointed with the verdict. They firmly believed that the killer warranted capital punishment. After learning that their daughter had been brutally murdered, all Yingying's parents truly desired was to bury her body. But it was a further devastating blow when they learned that her body was unlikely to ever be found. The grief-stricken parents implored Brent to disclose the location of their daughter's remains. He told his lawyers that he had dismembered her body, placed the remains in 3 separate garbage bags, and dumped them in a dumpster at his apartment complex. Her phone, school books, and backpack, he claimed, were thrown into another dumpster previously, apparently ending up in a landfill. Investigators determined that the dumpster at his apartment complex had been emptied 3 days after Yingying disappeared, and the trash had been transported to a landfill. There, it had been subjected to compaction at least twice, covered with other refuse, and spread over a vast area of the landfill. All of this rendered their discovery virtually impossible, and the remains were not actively sought. Her phone, school books, and backpack also remain missing. The sole solace for Yingying's family is that this monster will remain incarcerated indefinitely and will never commit crimes again. The parents filed a lawsuit against the psychoanalyst Brand was seeing, alleging negligence for not sending him to treatment in time and for not reporting his obsessive thoughts about killing to the police. However, the legal action was unsuccessful and was ultimately dismissed. The court held that unless a patient posed a direct threat to a specific, identifiable person, a psychoanalyst, like any other medical professional, could not violate their patient confidentiality obligations and report it to the police. A commemorative stone was erected in Yingying Zhang's honor on the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign campus, where she had lived. If you found this video impactful, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's connect in the comments to discuss this powerful and tragic story. Thanks, everyone, and goodbye for now.